Northern UIM cannot continue unless I become a full-time content creator. It's time for a brand new State of the Northman, where I break character. Hey. Welcome to the first real ramble video on this channel. I wanted to make this because I try to keep personal stuff separate from Northern UIM episodes, since I want the series to solely be focused on the account and the story. But here, I feel like we can be a little less formal, and I can talk about whatever I want, which admittedly is still about the account and the story. So let's jump into it. At the time this video is uploaded, there are currently 20 episodes of Northern UIM. For the first time in the series' history, I'm caught up on my backlog of footage. I'm playing on the account, recording episode 21, and I am just so happy. I've received so many kind messages. Viewership is beyond what I could have ever hoped for. The support has been incredible, and I'm finally playing RuneScape again. I've been stuck in editing hell for over half a year at this point, and there's just something about playing on Northern UIM. I don't know if it's the restrictions or because I know I'm going to turn the gameplay into a story, but achieving anything in-game on this account just feels absolutely amazing. I genuinely don't think I'll ever get burnt from playing this account. Editing, different story, right? Episode 20. Granted, it was the season finale, but it took 407 hours to edit. I don't think it's a controversial statement that Northern UIM cannot continue unless I become a full-time content creator. And I'm happy to announce that I have done that. I am a full-time content creator, which is exciting. Obviously, that's huge for the series, huge for the channel. I can devote all my time and energy into working on this project. But maybe there are some drawbacks as well, right? I don't want to put sponsorships on Northern UIM videos. I have several reasons for this, and I bounced back and forth on this decision for a while. But ultimately, I do pour my heart and soul into every single one of these videos, and the last thing I want to do is stick an ad in the middle. Having said that, I would like to sprinkle some non-Northern UIM videos into my upload schedule, and I just wanted to come forward and say that there is a real possibility that those videos may have sponsorships. I still don't feel great about shilling products I can't personally vouch for, but if I get sponsored by these guys, or like Bell and Evans chicken tenders, the greatest chicken tenders in the world, I mean, that'd be pretty sweet, right? I hope they heard that. If you'd like to support me, the best place to do that is on Twitch. I'm going to be streaming Northern UIM 3 days a week for the foreseeable future. There will be spoilers for next season, obviously, so if you're actively avoiding those, no worries. The one promise I will make is that Northern UIM videos will never feel like stream highlights. Despite the shift, I promise I will continue editing my videos in unique and creative ways. Okay, that's out of the way. For this video, I also gathered a bunch of questions from you guys, and while I can't get to all of them for reasons, I'll do my best to answer as many as possible, and hopefully some of my responses will cover multiple questions. What is the biggest reason for episodes taking so long? I mean, we all saw this one coming, right? And I wish there was an easy answer. I wish there was just one reason. In season 1, I was figuring out my editing software, Premiere Pro. Season 2, I'm a lot more comfortable editing, but my ideas are much larger in scale. But if I had to point to one reason, I think I'd say I never dismiss an idea because I think it'll take too much time. I'll give an example. In episode 20, I made an LMS montage. I wanted a short section, 90 seconds long, reminiscent of old RSMVs. And let me tell you, I dreaded working on this montage. I got to go back and rewatch some of my favorite RSMVs from 2009, which was a lot of fun, but I had never edited something in this style before. Also, I was short on good-looking LMS kills, so I had to log onto Northern UIM and play more LMS to try to farm more clips. But the reason why I wanted to make the montage, from a storytelling perspective, I had just gotten 1,500 total, we re-unlocked Last Man Standing. I don't think LMS is going to play that big of a part in Northern UIM going forward, and I had this idea for a montage. And I asked myself, when am I ever going to have the opportunity to make something like this ever again? And sure, maybe those 90 seconds took me 2 weeks to edit, but I think it's my favorite part of the video, so I don't regret it. How comfortable were you with the wilderness before the series, and how comfortable are you with it now? Before the series, not at all comfortable. I think the most I'd ever risked in the wilderness before was like 1 inventory of dragon bones at the Chaos Altar, but I was much worse at the game then. Actually, when I first made Northern UIM, I actually didn't know UIMs couldn't protect item. I don't know when exactly I learned that, but I know I wasn't happy. Now I'm much more comfortable in the wilderness. Banning myself from death piling at the beginning of Season 2, in retrospect, was an extremely good decision. I did it because it made Wilderness Slayer significantly less tedious, but it was also very entertaining in terms of story, and it taught me how to survive in the wilderness. Except for that one time. We don't talk about that one time. Which leads us to, now that you can death pile again, how do you see Season 3 changing with what content you're doing? I don't want to go into specifics because spoilers, but the short answer is, it's going to be different. I can now grind for items without being forced to risk them. Season 2 had a lot of level grinding, and I think Season 3, I'm finally going to get my hands on some long overdue equipment upgrades. No more yak hide. When you started, did you expect the series to be this cinematic, or was that a result of your creative process after the fact? No, it was not planned. It was actually a complete accident. I really like just playing the game without worrying about how it's gonna fit into a video at the time. And then episode 5 happened. I had 2 ways of getting into the wilderness. I could make a games necklace, or I could train agility. And I went back and forth. And when I went to edit that video, I took one look at the footage and I said, "You moron. How the hell am I supposed to turn this into a coherent video?" I was so frustrated with myself. But then I took some time, thought about it, got a little creative, and I thought, okay, it's a little out there, but what if this episode is told from the perspective of 2 PKers waiting for me to enter the wilderness? We'll make them vaguely Team Rocket-esque, give them fun personalities, and it worked. The episode flowed great, it was funny, and I had solved my problem. The video went up, I got some comments, got some messages from friends. The PKers were clearly the highlight of that video, and people expected them to return. That's not why they were supposed to be a one-off gag. And now I have a area-locked progress series with recurring comic relief characters. How did you come up with the Ferox story? Ferox showed up because I wanted a character that could directly oppose Recall. Going into Season 2, I knew I wasn't going to be doing much bossing, so in my mind, there was almost like an absence of conflict, and I felt like there was room in the story for a villain character. I also wanted there to be an in-lore reason why I was no longer death piling, and then later I got screwed over by anti-botting measures, so that worked out kind of nicely as well, story-wise at least. I had some ideas on Ferox's backstory from the beginning. I really wanted to incorporate some actual RuneScape lore. Ferox's backstory in-game is super vague. I think it just says he's like ex-Zamorakian and is studying the wilderness. And I think having him be an exile gives him some connection to Recall, even if the circumstances are wildly different. One rule you would change or add if you went back in time when you started the series. Several people have asked if I regret not allowing access to Karend. The answer to that is absolutely not. I think part of the coolness factor of area locked accounts is the difficulty and route planning that limitations bring. And Karend is just so massive that it would trivialize a lot of aspects of this account. I just think the gameplay would be a lot less interesting if I had access to it. So I don't think I'd change anything rules. Well, I am changing one rule next episode. I don't need to go back in time to do this, but I've said a couple times, the goal of this series is to kill every boss I have access to in the North. And I've decided that that feels a little bit too easy. So going forward, I'm changing it to receive a unique from every boss in the North. That way I can't just run through all the bosses like I did the Wildy Singles bosses last episode. How different do you think the series would look if you started it today? Would having day one access to the wilderness change your routing at all? My initial response to this question was that the route probably wouldn't change much, but thinking about it, I think it's possible to run Northern UIM in reverse. Starting with access to the wilderness and Birthorpe. Both Barbarian Assault and Blast Furnace, you need to visit before you can use the minigame teleports, but you should have enough resources available to complete Death Plateau. Trout from the Warriors Guild, Bread from Imps, Iron Bar Spawn north of Ferox. Seems like it'd be interesting. And before becoming a full-time Northman, where did you work? Were you able to find a game development job? So for those who don't know, I have a degree in game development with a focus on narrative and storytelling, which I guess explains a lot. And yes, before I went full-time, I was an audio engineer working on one of my professor's games, actually. Not my ideal skill set, but one thing about the game dev industry, it is very hard to get your foot in the door without knowing someone within the company. And that's actually one of the main reasons why I started Northern UIM, was to get some contacts at Jagex with the hope of working there someday. How did you get such talented friends as voice actors? I did a lot of musical theater in college, so I just happened to be lucky and have a lot of actor friends. Most of them are currently in software engineering jobs, and they don't do very much acting nowadays, so they're all really happy to help out whenever I need a voice. Recently, we've been recording in a Discord call so I can direct them a little bit, which is not a role I have experience with, but I'm getting better at it. What does Jeoparite mean? It's just a name. I have two older brothers, and growing up, they had very fantasy-sounding usernames from when they played EverQuest. Names like Ajawan Manaflinger, which is probably the coolest name of all time, right? So then I came along, age 10, creating my third RuneScape account because I got the first two stuck in Draenor Manor before Lumbridge Home Teleport existed. I think I sat there for like 15 minutes, thinking of a name before I finally typed out Jeoparite. So yeah, that doesn't really mean anything. Can we get a rough timeline of recording and editing for the series? It's hard to nail down specific dates for when Season 2 episodes were recorded, and what episodes you were editing and getting B-roll for at the time. Yes? Yes. Here is a timeline of my gameplay and editing progress. I'm recording this commentary in advance, so I'm just going to assume it's on the screen. This is where the PKers made their first appearance. This is where I got PK'd. It was a wild coincidence that the person who killed me happened to be wearing an outfit that was very close to one of the PKers. And when and why did you change the plan for episodes towards the end of Season 2? I'm assuming you're talking about the chalkboard, which is perfect because I want an excuse to rant about the chalkboard. Putting this into a video, probably the dumbest decision I made in the entire series. And okay, yes, it's kind of neat that I had so much backlogged footage that I could release all the episode titles way in advance. And it worked fine until I started working on episode 17, when I took a second look at the footage and saw that the video was going to be 40 minutes long. And then the episode after that, what was originally called Closing the Curtain, was an hour long. So I smashed the chalkboard. Granted, I definitely could and probably should have split the finale up into 2 videos as well, but I'm really looking forward to not having this problem in Season 3. I'm looking forward to videos that are around the 20 to 30 minute mark. Things might be a little different narrative-wise, since I'm caught up on footage, I can't plan ahead nearly as well. But production-wise, avoiding the really long episodes is going to help me release videos significantly more consistently. What made you choose the North as your area instead of somewhere that isn't super gray? Actually, the original reason is I wanted a region that could train Slayer without exceptions. I did a fair amount of theory crafting before I started Northern UIM, and as soon as I realized I could NPC contact Krystilia to train Slayer, I made the account. I just thought it was a really unique and interesting solution for a skill that a lot of region-locked accounts just straight up can't train. What is your favorite edit or bit you've done for the series? It's probably still the first LMS game. It was just such a disaster, and it played out perfectly in the video. I don't usually laugh while editing, but I remember finishing that section, playing it back, and I immediately knew it was going to be the highlight of that episode. Do you have any other accounts you actively play on? I do. I have a prestige group Ironman called Gimchampas I play on with some real life friends, and my awful main account Jeoparite, which I'd like to make a video on at some point, but for right now it's just an account that I use to shoot B-roll. Do you think the area of Northern UIM would make a difference if the line was moved down 5 tiles? I have no idea. I've never thought about that before. Let me take a look. So the current line is in the middle of the wilderness ditch. So if we move it down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this will be the southernmost tile. So I'd actually gain access to the Chaos Temple, which is interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would be 1 tile short of entering the Mind Altar. I'm 2 tiles away from being able to talk to Crystalia without NPC contact. That's like probably it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'd gain access to the Ectofuntus. Yeah, okay. So I'd gain Wines of Zamorak from the Chaos Temple and the Ectofuntus. So not much would change. Good question, though. What was the happiest moment during your account, and what was the hardest or most depressing moment? Happiest moment is probably finishing my 100th Wildy Slayer task. I had been doing Wildy Slayer at that point for like half a year, and it was just so nice to not have to worry about that anymore. Hardest moment, 100%, was actually the raw shark grind at the very beginning of the account. That was the only point I had ever considered giving up. Because I had just created the account, I was like a week into it, and there was just nothing I could do. There was no progress I could possibly make until I got a raw shark from Barbarian Assault. And I went dry. I mean, not super dry, but dry enough that I was losing hope. There's definitely a universe out there where I went triple drop rate for that shark and just never uploaded a video. And final question isn't really a question, but it's from Lunatar OSRS, who wants to see some Creator's Kit behind the scenes footage. For those who don't know, Creator's Kit is a RuneLite plugin that came out several months ago that allows for models and characters to be added into the game, client side, of course. But this plugin is incredible. The ceiling on OSRS video quality has been shattered. Whenever I watch other creators use this plugin in a unique way, I'm taking notes to incorporate that into my videos. And I'm hoping that I can help inspire creators with the way I've been using it as well. And I think that's about it. Thanks for listening to me ramble. I'll be back in a few months with a new Northern UIM season. Or if you don't want to wait that long, you can watch progress live at twitch.tv/Jeoparite.